Hello and welcome back to the on the rest of the debate and to AEW Collision Out of 10 from Toronto, Canada, and the final show before Forbidden Door, of course, and we see maybe some changes to the card. The Owen Hart tournament continued and we saw CM Punk in action, so yeah, a lot going on, and the show opened with a pair of promos from Team CMFTR, Ricky and Bullet Club, and Gold to hype up their match tonight. It was an old school feel to it. For Tony Schiavone welcomed us to ring, and Sting and Darby Allin and could reveal their mystery partner Forbidden Door, but he was interrupted by Jericho and Suzuki. Demon God ranted about Sting, making him wait to find out who he would be facing. He said whoever it was, it probably wasn't as tough as Suzuki. He began to threaten Schiavone. He brought out Sting and Allin. Allin said Jericho had history with their mystery partner and started freaking out. It was Naito, and he appeared on the stage all in white and walked right up to Jericho and smiled in his face. The Demo God and Suzuki left in the ring without anyone throwing a punch. This is picking lots of predictive people, and yeah, it's a great choice, especially with his history as Jericho. The segment wasn't particularly memorable, but it built out tension. I like the bit at the end, and yeah, Naito obviously got a loads of pedigree, so yeah, can't wait to see him in that match. It was then time for Swerve against Tanahashi. Prince Tana's company swerved to the ring. Tana got a great reception from the crowd as he posed in the corner. Fans chanted his name and Swerve circled each other before looking up. They mocked each other with little air guitar before Tanahashi dropped a low kick. The leader of the Mogul Embassy then quickly regained control and trapped him in the apron so he could hit a kick to the face as we went to a break. There was a solid back and forth between the two guys with similar skills, and you could tell both of them were holding back to keep Tanahashi healthy for his big pay-per-view match, but they still managed to make it competitive. There was quite a bit of showcasing, which the crowd seemed to enjoy. This wasn't an instant classic, but it was decent enough to give an unfamiliar face an idea of who he is. Tanahashi almost slipped off the top turnbuckle when he sang up for his finisher, but Swerve was enough to help him cover for the misstep. Tana scored the win and celebrated for Njpw music hit. The champion appeared on the Tron to promise to embarrass him at Forbidden Door, and said Tony Khan agreed to put the match on as first so we can get out of Toronto as fast as possible. So it gets 7 out of 10 from me. Yeah, like I say, just a bit of a build-up match for Tana. The good bit at the end with MJF as well. And yeah, I just can't wait for that match. I'm going to give it 7 out of 10. It was then time for Andrade versus Brody King, and yeah, Andrade had the shoulder taped up and the announcer made sure to talk about it. King used his side to push him around a bit, but the former NXT champion combated the size of Smart with speed and agility. He even hit a massive moonsault from the top rope to the floor that earned a holy shit crowd from the crowd. The strikes were especially stiff from King throughout the match. Even when the crowd was cheering, you could still hear the impact of each chop perfectly. The bout was very physical and allowed both men to shine in different ways. They made sure to get the money's worth. Hart distracted Andrade by picking his mask, but it only stopped him from putting it on the figure eight momentarily. Once he got locked in, Matthews stood into the ring and attacked him out of nowhere. Malachi Black appeared on the Tron while the rest of the whole back praised in the ring. The outcome might not have changed, but a lot of people happy, and everything about this contest ruled. And yeah, it gets an 8 out of 10 for me. This was a really good match. Just show what both of them can do and why they should just be given so much TV time. I think they really proved it here. And yeah, hopefully it's just the beginning of them. This is great stuff. It was then time for Willow Nightingale versus Nyla Rose. Before that, Christian Cage, the TNT champion, came out after a break. However, it was Cage who carried the belt of him to the ring, gave a great heel promo, which should set up a fun run for Luchasaurus as champion. And yeah, I wonder if you might see the breakup of them over the TNT title. But before we did get into that Owen Hart Cup match, the Native Beast had Bashiri on her side, and it was a good look at the Owen Hart Cup on their way to the ring. These are the two most powerful women in AEW, so they're clearly trying to test each other's strengths early on. Rose was the first one to take control, but the New Japan Strong Women's champion kept herself in the fight, and they battled for a commotion break before while Rose was in control. Willow began to fight back. The pace was a bit slower than it should have been, but overall this was a solid encounter between two competitors with a lot of similar attributes. After hitting her pants, Willow finished Rose off with a Doc's Bomb for the pin and the win. The Outcast showed up and surrounded the ring, but Sky Blue ran out with a steel chair to even the odds and send the Outcast packing. There was no fight to set this up, but a future encounter definitely seems impending. And yeah, it gets 6 out of 10 from me. This was good stuff. Obviously, I would say for me, the right winner. Willow's on a bit of a roll at the moment. So yeah, good stuff, and I can't wait to see how this Owen Hart Cup processes for sure. Powerhouse Hobbs was then in a squash match against a local talent called Jeremy Prophet. As you can probably guess, the match didn't last long, and pure squash to give him an easy win. And yeah, I don't know, I guess it makes sense. Well, there's nothing much for Hobbs to do to build him up against an opponent when there's spare time on TV. But yeah, just want to see Hobbs get into a proper feud, to be honest. But yeah, like I say, 6 out of 10 from me. It's then time for CMFTR versus the Guns and Bullet Club Gold, the main event of the night, of course. And Punk and White started 13. Switchblade tried to taunt him, but Punk just shoved him and showed he wasn't intimidated. White ended up tagging out to Juice, who got a great reaction. The crowd was incredibly vocal throughout, and both teams were being booed and cheered depending on who was in the ring at any given time, so it's hard to tell which team had more support. This was a fun match though, but the crowd's strong reactions to Punk were distracting at times. Everyone did a good job playing their part, so the majority of it was solid. Punk was definitely embracing some of the boos he was getting, but his team was still clearly working on Babyface's side. In fact, the crowd made an effort to boo Punk when he was still a legal man, so he gave the rest of his team some positive reactions. Juice teased hitting Punk with his own finisher, but Second City Savior saved it. This kicked out a long sequence with everyone from Babyface getting involved. The match ended with White hitting Starks and with his finisher for a somewhat surprising victory. Yeah, definitely have to say I didn't see this result coming. I thought for sure that we'd see Punk get the win, but no, clearly not. His crowd reactions were an interesting one as well. Punk playing up for it, so yeah, it's definitely going to be very interesting to see how it progresses. But a fun main event, surprise victory, and yeah, hype very much for Spindor. So it gets 7 out of 10 from me. Overall, Collision gets 7 out of 10 from me. For me, another really enjoyable episode of AEW Collision. Yeah, you can't criticise it. You know, some really good matches on there. And yeah, some definitely interesting build for Findor as well. Involving like Tanahashi, Naito as well. So that's good to see. So yeah, good stuff. But anyway, guys, that's it for video. Thanks very much for watching. Like, share, subscribe. For daily wrestling news and subscribe to my channel. It's going to be greatly appreciated. Thanks very much for watching. Peace out.